5 p.m. Wednesday, November 6th. The first item on our agenda is the roll call of remote commissioners. So anyone attending remotely, please introduce yourselves.
Jeff Schulman.
Greg Shepler.
Do you hear us out there in Zoom land? Great. So Greg and Jeff, if you can introduce yourselves as part of our agenda.
Are you guys hearing me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
Oh. The technology problems on our end.
Other side.
Greg Shepler, Burlington.
Thank you. Right, and we'll move to item 2, which is the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the contents of the agenda as proposed?
No. I'll move.
Wow.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got the first and the second. Are there any discussion or any proposed amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? We have an agenda. Next up is item 3, which is public forum. You're all set? And do we have anyone remotely?
We do not. Zero.
0 attendees, all right. Flying right along. We'll move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Here are a motion to approve the contents of the consent agenda as proposed. So that's moved by Connor and then seconded by Helen. That's the second member. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Any modification of the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the consent agenda as proposed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That completes consent agenda. Move on to item 5, action items. Item 5.1. It's an Arrestor cable runway conversation. I'd be willing to entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance and City Council the execution of a contract with National Guard Bureau for reimbursement of costs associated with drainage improvements for the Vermont Air National Guard as outlined in our agenda packet. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I'll move it.
That is moved by Helen. Is there a second? Second by Connor. Discussion to be led by Larry.
So this is a cooperative agreement which we've entered in from time to time with the Guard for upgrading some infrastructure we have that we both benefit from. In this case, it's the Arrestor aircraft resting system, which I'm not sure if you know what that is, but that's what comes up. It helps slow down the jets if they're going a little too fast.
We have 2 of them on the run.
Aircraft, yeah.
I didn't know we had those.
Oh, yeah.
We have F-35. Yeah. So this isn't really because of how they land. This is because of emergency situations. Like that they can drop their boat. Whereas when an aircraft carrier lands, they require that, right? This is on the opposite end of where they're in case. Yeah.
Do they practice that?
They do. Yeah.
So
They had a Arrestor hub on the F-35.
So in this case, they just put a lot of money into these bunkers that the system, the motors and everything sit in.
Yeah.
So they just did all that. So there needs to be some upgrades to like some pumps and drainage issues and also some chambers underground for stormwater to treat into the ground. And so we are taking on the management of the design, bid, and construction oversight of this project. So
But there's a plan of capital.
it's a contract where we get reimbursed.
Which is great because we
gonna
can
say.
control the actual scope of the project.
Right.
Because it's so entwined with that Runway Rehab project that we're doing next year. Now we can control the whole area.
And the Air Force is paying for
At 100%. So,
Yep.
a local match. Oh, good.
no,
Okay. Spoken like a legislator.
No, so it's just working with them, you know, we have passed with other items like this, the Valley West Apron. Improvements on the runway at one point, it's no overlays that they paid for. Damage caused, so.
Yeah.
That's all there's to it.
Nick, sorry, this is pure curiosity. Are the other Arrestor cables further down, the other like triangle? I thought there were 2.
sort of, yeah, so you see this little pop out right
Yeah,
here.
that makes sense.
Anytime you see yellow circles on a runway, that indicates a straight.
Do you think I could see that part?
And then the other one is right
Oh,
There's the big 100
Yeah.
pretty much sprays and cooler system.
Yep.
That's all under here because once the cable is full.
Yep.
That's.
Is that equidistant? No, it's a no.
One of these is 500 feet, so that's about 800 feet, and this one, practical,
Yep.
it's about 1,000.
Okay, that was my
But this
question.
also.
Yeah.
But this is used for.
Right. All right, thank you. I was just curious.
The only other thing I can think of is we'll probably be back on this because it hasn't been bid. We're just using estimated costs at this time. We do have the engineering costs are solid, we have scope fee and all that. But we have to bid the project, so we might have to pay eventually the costs for construction. In the next few months, so, but we need this agreement to get going, so.
Good to me.
All right,
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
And what you said you were.
Yeah, for whoever wins the contract, and if it changes any from what we're estimating, but I think we've kind of left that.
Is this a specialized kind of work that, not every contractor does, or?
Any general contractor, it's just normal, it's some pumps, it's piping,
Okay.
it's a trench with pipe in it where stormwater drains to the ground, or chambers, in the ground.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's general, yeah.
Really-
Site contractor, but.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else for Larry on this topic? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries. We move on to item 6, which is the construction update from Larry.
Okay, quickly, the good news is the parking garage lighting system is 100% complete. The joint repair continues. We'll get 2/3 of it done before it gets too cold and come back and finish the last third. The way it's divvied up out there to minimize it back to our cars in the spring. So that's the parking garage stuff's coming along. I erred on number 2, the environmental assessment. We do have the draft and the FAA is reviewing that right now. Cargo apron, the FAA responded favorably, revised their review and it was favorable to move that project forward. SRE building is 30% design. We've done a turn page and we're moving forward with the permit with South Burlington and state entities.
What do you mean by turn page? I've never noticed.
Okay,
Just
so
that term before.
Okay, so when we go through the design, we have weekly meetings and we build this up over time. But we don't have everybody that's impacted in the same room every week. It's me and maybe Nick or whatever, mostly me every week, okay? And then when it gets to a certain point, we wanna make sure everybody's included and the consultant turns every page and everybody gets to give input.
Literally type it. So we go through that.
Yeah, so that way everybody can, we get their input. We got their input at the beginning when we started, but it doesn't make sense to have everybody on that call every week, so,
Okay.
as we.
Right, no, I understand it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the term meant.
Yeah,
I like that actually, like turn sheet ready, turn page ready.
Yeah.
yep, so we're moving forward, Burlington Tech Center, that's gonna, we started construction meetings on that, we're waiting for a few final permit. From Intel Burlington's all set, we're just waiting for the active 50, so that will start construction within the month. We're working on the upcoming next year's projects, which is the Taxiway Charlie rehabilitation, the next part of the project. Next, obstruction removal, we have some obstructions in our approach pass of the runway, so we are going through that, and of course, doing the grant app eventually for the SRE. Glycol system draft studies in, I gotta get to that, haven't got to that yet. Runway 1533, which is a big project, we were having weekly or bi-weekly meetings right now to get ready for that. And that will start about May 15th or when the weather permits. So, so also as part of that now, we're including that project I just spoke about with the guard. That's all I have on the construction.
Thank you, Larry. Commissioners, any follow-up questions for Larry? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Larry. We'll move on to noise data.
The town installation program phase 3, it's gonna start next week. Construction is gonna start next week, finally, after all we've been through with window manufacturer going under and all that kind of stuff. And the contractors request to work through winter, but that will be done very carefully to make sure we have homework that want to do that. And we're just gonna plow through the 52 homes in this phase and have them finished by next October. That's the plan. So that's good news. We were going back and forth on whether we would actually get something started this year. And we have a pre-construction meeting Friday with the FAA and the contractor. We actually met with the contractor at the conference down in Raleigh, it was Raleigh to the FAA noise conference. And the contractor was there, so we got things kind of kicked off with him down there.
And I asked a question in terms of the recent report that the guard wants to use the afterburners for. Will that impact the noise mitigation plans, I guess?
That's fine.
I think so.
Yeah, I have a large presentation as part of the
Oh,
director's
yeah.
report, and then
Oh, all right.
dive right into
Yeah.
the future, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I won't touch on it, but then Nick's gonna do a bigger thing.
52 necessarily, or what?
Oh, yeah, this doesn't change. Nothing ever.
Yeah, but this doesn't change.
Yeah.
And nothing's gonna, I mean, that's gonna be years before that happens, so.
Years before they use afterburner?
Yeah, they have to do a whole environmental impact study.
I know, well, I knew it would be next week, but I thought,
Not next week, but I mean, like,
No,
I think the Fed, it would be a approval process for the feds, which would be
yeah, and then we,
5-7 years.
yeah, who knows?
I mean, yeah, while we're on the subject,
we need a defense system.
we are, if they get approval for funding for supplemental EIS, that might happen in the next several months, maybe into March. If they get that approval, then their study commences. You're talking about a start of a public comment period, maybe
Yeah.
starting next October.
Oh, right.
For a period of time. Once that comment period goes through, that's into 2026, that potentially might move forward. That's when we would start our new noise exposure map. We're not gonna start any new noise exposure map until there's confirmation that a major change in operations.
Okay.
So that new noise exposure map is gonna take a year to accomplish, so we're talking 2027 before what we released 2 weeks ago would ever get changed.
And you're gonna present this to the
Yes.
Metropolitan City Council?
If I'm invited, yes. I have presented that to leadership of just figure
Okay,
both, not just South Burlington, Williston, Winooski.
right.
Yeah.
I just said it again.
But this time, this does not change how we're moving forward.
Okay.
Okay, with the exception of the AM, which we'll get to in a second.
Okay,
One,
I'm
just-
sorry.
No,
That's-
that's good, that's great. Residential sonorization, phase 4, we signed the contract earlier, or Nick signed the contract earlier this week for those 16 homes. And then that also included outreach for, more homes. So we've got like 80 more homes to go doing outreach for right now. We have money for, then the noise exposure map.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Before we jump into this?
Yeah.
So, I had a couple questions, community members, for the noise, the insurance, the refurbishment program. Is it average like 100K per house?
130 when you include design.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I had a couple questions about clarity, right?
But physical infrastructure into the house.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
And it's funny, the same number we just went at the conference, we were just same in Boston.
Yeah, so I'll say.
He's all- Yeah, all 100 grand home, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
like
love those Vermont Victorian.
All right, news exposure map, okay, that was, presented to the public on October 23rd, the TAC meeting, followed by meeting at the Chamberlain School, we presented that, where people were able to come in and look at it, and then also we went to, Winooski, High School gym and did it on the 24th. The contours, which Nick is gonna get to a little bit later, shrunk a little bit, so there's a little less homes and available for these programs now, but Nick's gonna get into that a little bit later. So that's now as far as, now we just need to get it approved by the FAA by the end of the year and move forward. So that's all I have on the noise exposure or noise sound program right now.
All right, commissioners, any last questions for Larry? Larry, thanks for all your updates,
Thank you.
and we'll move on now to the financial update from Marie.
Well, hello, everyone. So our financial statements for this month include everything for September. That is the P&L, the revenue recovery metrics, the banking balance, and the AIP report. There's nothing unexpected. Our revenues are still trending the way that we thought they were. They are a little bit higher than last year. We continue to have we've had higher numbers of employments here at the airport, and more seats being offered, higher numbers of employments, more visitors coming through. So we still continue to see higher car rental revenues, and we're seeing higher parking garage revenues than we were even a year ago. So things are going well on that side. We're also spending more money, and that is expected. We have higher amounts of our salaries as part of our reorganization. We anticipated that the salaries and benefits are running higher. We've also continued to be finishing up the project in the garage I think we're done in November, the fire alarm and the light replacement. It's all done, but there is work continue to go on the garage which will go on for some time, where they're doing some joint expansion replacement work. So there's some significant work. Again, this is all, try to keep up and do preventative maintenance things that are necessary in the garage to keep it a very safe and functional asset that we have.
Does that include the electric plug-in things?
We moved them,
No,
yes.
that was a separate
It was a separate.
project, but those are now operational,
Oh, good.
brand new electric chargers. Open tip over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah, we were able to get that in as well. So we've done actually a fair amount of work in the garage this year. We trying to make sure that we're encompassing and keeping all things good in there, as well as all the other projects that we're starting along here with our next project starting. And that's exciting that we actually can see. If you haven't gone along the main walkway as you're coming in, just look, you'll start to see that there are barriers and things like that. Our cash position continues to be very strong. And we are still working with the FAA to close out some big grants. One of them just closed 2 days ago, a smaller one, but AIP 120 got signed off. We submit the closures. I think we submitted that in May or June, and it takes quite a while for them to review and sign off on that. So these things are happening. And so we are, hoping to get those closeout grants, the money from those closeout grants. I'd love it tomorrow, but as soon as we can.
Yeah.
As we continue to ramp up on these additional, like that next project is gonna, start to really move, we'll start to see some bills, but we'll be able to get reimbursements. We have all those grants in place to do that. But those are I guess the other thing I'll mention is I had auditors doing field work this week.
That's how we do
Yeah. So same firm.
Winter in the air.
That's right, same firm, but we do have a couple of new team members that were on site. And so that is progressing and going along, but other than that, that's the highlights for me.
And concurrently, credit rating.
Yes, so stay tuned for, hopefully we can't control when they go to committee and give their rating, but hopefully by this time next month, perhaps we will have, have that an updated credit rating for this year.
Is that credit rating part of the cities or does the
Great
airport have-
question. We have bonds that have their own credit rating. So the airport bonds are rated by Fitch Rating and Moody's. So both of those companies they rated the bonds that we have currently open today. So as long as we have those bonds open, we continue to have updates from them pretty much annually. That they come back, they take a look, they ask a lot of information, a lot of financial information we provide and talk with them, present to them.
Yeah.
And then they go to the process with these rating agencies, they go to committee, but it's separate from the city. It does matter how the city's doing.
Okay.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
because part of our rating, it's not only how the airport's doing, but they want to have confidence in how Vermont is doing or the economy is doing here. So they look at things of how overall, right, because that's what drives the residents' ability to be able to fly out of Burlington. So they look at the impacts of, it doesn't all weigh in equally, but they look at the impacts of all of that.
Separate rating.
It's a separate
So you could
rating.
literally have a rating in the city.
Right now, we do
Yeah,
have
the agent applies, yes.
Right, because we have two different companies.
Okay.
So yeah, that's sort of what's going on in the financial side, but you have another question.
Why would you think? In a similar way as like some of like municipalities are affected by state financing and regulatory environment. I asked, like, do you know what the risks are? Like these are,
What the risks are
yeah,
for the airport, I mean, the health of the state?
yeah, like I know for a lot of the energy organizations in Vermont, it's an uncertain regulatory environment. Especially from, from Moody's especially. So I was just curious if that is a similar relationship.
No, it's not. We don't have any separate
Okay.
utility commissions or anything that are,
No, yeah, nothing chilling, just the separation, because it's not the same, it's like, right, they take that into account, like.
but besides, like Marie said, besides like general economic status, yeah, nothing.
Thanks, that makes me cool.
All right, Christian, any questions for Marie? Okay, I just have a pair of questions, so I didn't know we were up for ratings, so that's good. Can you remind me,
In
annually?
Well, when they
Yeah,
choose to.
Yeah, it's like.
or
Yeah.
When they choose to, it can shift
So,
from year to year.
usually when there's anyway, when there's a rating, there's usually like an outlook, right? And it's either like stable or, I forget all the words they use. Anyway, yeah, when we had our last rating, what was the outlook?
I think we're positive, and I should have looked it up before I came, because they're different between Moody's and Fitch.
it's either stable or positive. We
Okay.
were stable for quite a while with
Right.
the same credit rating for both agencies. At one point, I think we were negative with Fitch. I don't think Moody's changed us, but that was through COVID. That's
Through
when
COVID, they
every
all-
airport was.
they all
Well, Fitch did that a lot during
Yes,
COVID anyway.
they did.
Yeah, but most recent, I think last year's when they, maybe 2 years ago, actually, they either changed it to positive or it potentially. I don't remember.
Yeah, I should have looked at it before I came in, but yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
But it's never gone backward, so if
Right.
we weren't positive and went to stable, it wouldn't be the bad, we're continuing to be stable or jump.
Okay, that's helpful to know what we might see.
Yeah.
And then the other piece, and I'm glad you're sitting right next to me, because I can show you the chart. So for everyone else, on the landing fees chart, there's been an uptick in the last 5 months. And I don't know if that is just activity or if there has been a change in the
Activity.
fee structure.
So,
It's a pretty
yeah,
dramatic change.
we just barely increased the fees, so we've got about maybe only a couple of months that we did increase the fees, and it's about 10%
Okay,
on the fees. However, the actual activity is way up.
Right.
We had a lot more planes. All of the legacy airlines, they were offering a lot more flights this summer. And bigger flights, but there were more
Heavier
flights.
weights, yeah.
There were more flights this year than there were last year. And so that combination, that and just just rolling out the higher rates. So now we've just started. So this is for September. So you're gonna see August and September were billed at the higher rates.
Okay.
So we just rolled them out. Yeah, so you're gonna start to see that, but it's a combination.
Okay.
And we did see some drop off in that landing fees for the first, we'll say from January of 2024 until like May.
Yeah, I can see it
2024.
rolling over.
And something that had to do with just the ship, we had one of the carriers, JetBlue, had pulled out of Burlington. They were doing 3 flights a day, 7 days a week. We're lucky enough to pick up Breeze, but they didn't replace it with the same number of flights. And so we just had some shifting in there, but it's really has settled out. And now we actually have a lot more flights that are, yeah.
And you can see even more than pre-COVID
Yeah.
numbers as well.
Yep.
So, with Breeze obviously picking up, like Murray said, that happened January 4th, I think it was,
Yes.
that one carrier moved. January 31st is when Breeze started, and then they added 3 more destinations, so that's a huge
Yep.
pile up there. And Frontier's about to start in 45-ish days or so, so you did Boris.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't know how much of that was pricing versus activity, because employments are clearly up.
This is all activity, this chart. This is only through September.
Well, through September. So you're saying, so you are starting it to be, right, a little bit of that rev, but that's a great question, is to think about it from how much is, if the price was the same, the landing rate.
Right, so we had that in
But it would
PFCs, right,
it
where it
would-
went from,
Yeah, CFC.
CFCs,
It
where
would
it's
still
the
be
rate
going
change.
up. You would still be seeing it go up, because I'm seeing that just from the number of flights from the weights and
Yeah.
things like that, or
Yeah.
we can tell you pretty easily, the weights are definitely higher.
Do we attribute this mostly to, people coming to visit? Or is there a business?
I think it's a combination, and I'll tell you why. Because our garage numbers are going up at the same time our car rental revenues are going up. We have demand that is here at this airport. Irregardless of necessarily who all the carriers are. It may have taken a while to shake out when we had some change. But we have demand here at the airport that people want to be coming, and people are flying out. So we see maybe more Canadians that are returning and still loving to fly out of here. I think some of the direct flights that we have that are going, they're very popular. And the flights are full that are people who are flying here. Every time I walk through the terminal, I'll hear, "We have a full flight. Please be prepared, check your carry-on bag." And I know folks that have been flying in or flying out were telling me the same thing, that their flights are full coming in and out.
And especially going back to your question, Tim, the quantity of actual pounds handed,
Right.
which is a relationship to what we charge, has also increased. So we're not necessarily seeing what we were talking about before, where larger planes are coming in but taking the place of 2 smaller planes.
Right.
That's not necessarily happening. We're seeing larger planes replace a single smaller, same. And you're talking across all of our airlines bringing in larger planes, Breeze bringing in the semi-large plane. Frontier is going to be the largest one. But those are all.
Yeah, sure.
Well, at some point, then it is,
That's what we're
Never
doing next.
Well, we're hoping the demand is here in Vermont, New York, Quebec, a little bit New Hampshire. The demand is here. People want to be able to fly out close to home.
oh, yeah.
So people are asking, in fact, there's still a lot of, people still will say, like, you don't go to the place I want to go direct or whatever, but they can all get there. But, there's still the demand, and it's certainly easier to drive 45 minutes to a flight than drive much farther if you have to get across the country.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioners, anything else for Marie? All right, we'll move on to item 9, which is the director's report. just make sure this is CMC.
All right, so I just want to give a quick recap of our spectacular event. Jeff is on the, yeah, he's still on. And we had an awesome event October
13th.
well,
12th.
Lots of sponsors, we're estimating about 750 people that came throughout the day, not necessarily a lot, but long time. We actually started at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with the first hour being a quiet hour. Lots of food trucks. We had a really cool costume contest, very cute costume contest with the little kids. Dunk tank, touch truck, pumpkin painting. I think we Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. We sold out of pumpkins, so our team had to rush to the store to go grab some more, which is pretty cool. And it was a really exciting event, all at Veterans Park in South Burlington. That's the stage out there. So really cool. I told you I was gonna show pictures of you too, in the dunk tank. I don't know what you're talking about. So we raised $725 in relatively short period of time for the South Burlington Food Show. Lots of folks are represented in dunk tank to help raise that, including our Commissioner Daly.
So who is most dunked?
I talked to Commissioner Farrell and Representative Praz, and their average was 10 to 12, mine was 37.
37, no?
Yeah, I put it out on Twitter, it's nonstop. It's good.
Wow.
There was a period where I would like, get up on the platform, block it, and look, and there was a kid that was ready to smack the
That was neat.
trying to get you an out.
And obviously the whole event was to reveal our new Arrow the Griffin mascot, which he did come in via helicopter. They did come in via helicopter and our electric vehicles. So really exciting event and a really cool collaboration that we had with South Burlington Parks and Rec and the city of South Burlington. It was blessed. This is that picture in the middle there, that top picture was me announcing the new mascot, but he was missing. It's not in there, and then he flew in over the treetops and out there. Try. All right. So I'm gonna jump right into our noise compatibility program. Just a bit of background here. We've had decades worth of what we call and what the FAA calls a noise compatibility program, or NCP, which is defined in this chart here. We did not update our noise compatibility program. That's the program that says what are you going to do within noise contour areas that are eligible for mitigation. We just completed that NCP update in 2020. What we accomplished just a couple of weeks ago was an update to our noise exposure map, generally every 5 years, or if there's a change in operation, we would accomplish. Did our last one in 2019. That was the one that had the projected new military F-35 operations, and this is now updating that particular map to show real data, flights, quantities, heights above the ground, and power settings for every aircraft that we use. Every time we produce a new noise exposure map, we produce two maps, an existing condition map and a 5-year future forecast, which you can see in the far right there, 2024 and 2029. Our noise compatibility program, that's the basis of what is going to be accomplished within those noise contour areas. That's the one that was just updated through in 2020. Through about 2018, our only approved program was really acquiring and removing residential properties to create compatible land uses. Again, updated that in 2020 and added multiple paths for homeowners, property owners to voluntarily participate in. Today, our NCP includes the residential sound insulation program that Larry reports on monthly. It also does include other programs. Sales assistant, which is we help a homeowner sell their property on the market. We never buy the property directly from them. And with a valuation process, if the homeowner does not get a fair market value for the property, then we would pay for the difference in a fair market value and the sale price up to a certain percentage. That's called sales assistance. Purchase assurance is we actually would buy directly from the property, from the homeowner. We would buy the property. They would relocate. We would sound insulate the property, and then we would resell the property. So far, sales assistance and purchase assurance of the many dozens of homeowners that we're working with, nobody is interested in those two, and we'll of course continue to offer and report who's interested in what programs they're interested in. Just as a point of clarity, we no longer are offering acquisition demolition to any of the noise contours except 75 DNL, just that average decibel level or greater, because 75 or greater is the only option that the FAA allows in that contour area. We do have a few, there's 4, 6 houses within our current noise exposure.
Oh, is that all? 4 to 6?
Yeah, it's very few. Larry reports on this, does a great job with it. I updated it just a little bit with just restating that we have completed a positive ventilation project at the Chamberlain Elementary School a few years ago. We still do have 3 active noise monitors in the community that can be found at btvsound.com. As I mentioned before, no property has requested that purchase assurance or sales assistance program, and then some of these numbers that Larry reports on, and some of our projections on making sure we continue to advocate for at least 50 houses per year, both on designing and constructing. Never the same year though. We're never going to design the same houses that we're going to be constructing. We still have some challenges. Larry described it earlier, where seasonality, especially with some of the difficulties with window manufacturing companies, starting the projects in November is a concern. As long as homeowners are okay with that, we're pushing forward with it with the concurrence. We also have new pre-acoustical testing procedures that is going to be a challenge in the future. If you remember, the FAA gave us a kind of a blanket approval between 75 and 70 DNL, the closest contour band, saying we did a sample size of pre-acoustical testing within the houses. They concurred with that, and they approved all houses within that inner band to be eligible for sound installation. They are not doing that for 70 to 65, meaning we have to pre-acoustically test every property.
That's why we got stuck at 16, but the balance of 34, that one, we can't go with.
Because it was
already an issue, yeah, so, yeah.
How expensive is that? What does that add to the process?
a lot of time, which is a lot of labor hours for instances. I don't know yet.
And I can tell you what it costs for outreach, construction, inspection, design, and acoustical all combined for 50 homes, about $1 million. So, yeah.
So when you said
pre-acoustical testing.
Yeah.
earlier, it's averaging 130 per home.
Yeah.
100 for the insulating products and putting them in, and about 30 that would include the pre-planning and this testing.
A little over.
And outreach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And design and all the.
Right, all those things, but 30,000 in that number is this sound test for you.
Keep in mind that number theoretically should be reducing. As we go further out of the noise contour areas, there's less product that is needed to meet the interior controls. So that number should go. Don't know how much, but we have any.
Right,
but I design it.
When they start going down.
This is just a couple of examples from a couple 100-page document that includes the noise exposure map, just because we've produced 2 maps. It is accompanied with hundreds of pages of data for the public to review. The basic premise is this particular table, Appendix A, Table 1 of what the FAA refers to as Part 150 program. Part 150 is everything I just talked about. Yeah, noise compatibility program, noise exposure map, and how to mitigate and create compatible uses. This chart says what is a compatible land use within each contour band. That's how we know if residential is compatible with, let's say, 7.5 or 7 or 65 TNL. On the right is just examples of all real radar data that we've collected over the last year of both jet departures and arrivals, general aviation departures and arrivals, military departures and arrivals. All of that is accumulated into the background of producing these maps, and not just the actual track data of where they are, but distances over the ground. So we can see exactly where noise levels are based on the type of aircraft that we. It's significantly more than that, but this is just a quick example. All of that input to create what you're familiar with, which is a new noise exposure map. This one's a little hard to see because there's no context of what it looked like before. And that's a really important piece of the puzzle, where the black line is what we're submitting to the FAA. That's our brand new noise exposure map. The orange, that's what we published back in 2019. That was the first map that was inclusive of the new B-10 operations with F-35. And that's what Larry was saying earlier. You can see that specifically on the Winooski and Wilson ends. That has decreased in size because of decreased operations and departure procedures all input into the noise modeling program. That is the existing conditions of how this airport produces noise with all of the aircraft, including real-time data from. This has nothing to do with the proposal from the B-10 operation. None of that new departure procedure is within this. Yeah, little submarines. This was supposed to actually have 2 images on it, but it got overlaid on the PDF. I'm just relaying that all of this information is currently on maketv.com. This is actively in a public comment period, so the full noise exposure map and the associated documentation is open to the public, and we are accepting comments on that. We're going to be reviewing and answering every single comment that we receive. The background, there's actually 2 images, the darker green image, but there's a background image. You can kind of see the noise exposure map back here. And then just go to the website, but that is a live map. So you can zoom into this map, you can find your property, you can see exactly which contour band that you are in. You can use satellite images to find your actual house or property on this particular map. And then off to the side, if you click this noise flight tracking system on tvsound.com, you can also see almost live flight track and noise monitoring data on existing 3 noise monitors. You can rewind or play any date or time since we activated the monitors a few years ago. You can also, under settings, overlay the new noise exposure map as well. What's really important to this noise exposure map is this is not the official map yet. So even though, like you asked before, Howard, the reduction in the noise contour lines is going to happen once the FAA accepts these maps. They actually technically don't approve the map, they just accept it into the Federal Register. Once they do that, which we're expected by December 31st of this year, that's when it becomes the new active noise exposure map. Until then, we're still under the rules and the old noise exposure map documentation. But it's coming. This is a little snapshot of the residential areas or non-compatible areas within the 2024 existing condition map. So you can see there are now 2,368 dwelling units that potentially are going to be eligible, again, pending that pre-acoustical testing, with an estimated 5,500 population. That also is new too since our 2019 map, because of course the 2020 census came out, so we're able to use updated information. That is 272 less units and 600 less estimated population, so about a 10% decrease from our first map that we produced in 2019 compared to this map. And there's, in our future forecast 2029, there's very little change, a slight increase based on our FAA's approved terminal area forecast. That's a forecast of all operations in our area. I'll pause right there. I have a couple more slides here, but maybe pause just in case there's any questions. Oh, yeah.
We had I think we reported this before, that we're going to do it. There was DOD money that became available for noise programs. It was like $18 million, that could potentially go after, everybody could go after. So we went for, we did an application, applied for all of them to come.
18.75 million, yeah, which is a really good segue. Larry and I had the privilege of going down to Raleigh. It's last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
It's one of the weeks ago, and last week.
Yeah, last week, yeah.
This was really an international noise conference. We had many folks from out of the United States attending it, including one of the folks that was on the panel with me, who was from the London Heathrow Airport. I had the honor of the honor to present at the conference. There's a couple hundred people, maybe 200 people or so total in the conference. Executives from all over the country.
Nick was last in the day and everybody stayed for it. So it was great, because they were very interested and it was awesome. He had to buzz through really quickly, but everybody was, really impressed.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Larry is the person behind the camera.
Yeah.
So.
That's fine.
I'm better up
Yeah.
there.
So it's a really good, insightful conference. We learned a lot about struggles with the noise program nationwide. We learned that we share similar challenges, both with per housing construction costs, like Larry said before, with $100,000. But we also realized that we have a very large program, and we knew that, but we have a very large program that is relatively high on the list, including some of the major airports like Boston, Los Angeles, San Diego, things like that. We also learned that we are vastly far ahead of other countries throughout the world, including the United Kingdom. Heathrow doesn't really, actually the whole UK doesn't have a standardized way of doing noise programs. So each airport does their own thing. They use their own metrics of reporting noise. So it's all different.
They had 67,000. That would have to be big.
Yeah.
67,000.
So you can see there's a policy challenge with a funding challenge.
I think there's two, but they're trying to get a third one.
They've been trying to get a third one.
For long, yeah, I think they're getting close.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think they're getting close. I think it's two, but they're trying to do one.
Yeah.
That's right, because it was the noise from North London, but yeah.
And at the same token, Jeff and Jeff's marketing assistant, Alex, also got to go to San Francisco a couple weeks ago to attend a marketing and communications conference. Jeff, I don't know if you wanna say anything about that?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I had the opportunity to go to several conferences with the team, and I think this one was one of the ones that took the most out of it. It was all PR, marketing, communication, customer service specialists at airports. From small hub all the way up to LAX and Seattle. And one key takeaway that I had from it is what we're doing in our team and our public outreach and our public communication. We're further ahead in what we do than many other airports that are much larger than ours, especially above the medium hub. So I thought that was great. Got some good takeaways, some new ideas and new initiatives that I'm going to throw on the plan for next year. But it's definitely a conference that I think we're going to try to attend as often as possible.
Just a quick, I know Larry talked about it, but a quick couple of, maybe not super exciting pictures, but they're super exciting to us where Project Next has started. We started some demolition work of our concrete area. You can see all these little
With a
lines.
guillotine.
Yeah, it was very loud. But it was only a day, which is good. Oh, no, we should have, yeah.
Yeah, we do the time lapse.
Oh, yeah, actually, we do have a time lapse for the entire couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one for the tip project too, and it was absolutely amazing to see it, yeah. So that's up and running, that's actually at the corner of the building, which will eventually be demolished over there, but that's the corner looking. So, sorry, picture. Lots of just preemptive work, getting ready for winter, of course, but we can still do a lot of underground work. We're paving some temporary road, temporary meaning for the duration of the project. We're, like I said, removing that concrete, doing site work and a lot of electrical work. You probably saw a lot of phones, one-lane traffic as you drove in. That is to move some generators and transformers across, not across the street, but across our driveway street towards the entrance of the garage, because they're currently in the site that are the buildings. So lots of preemptive work to go to. We have a meeting on, actually I have it. Next topic is P3. This is a new procurement policy for the city of Burlington that will take effect on December 1st, so just 4 weeks. This new policy has been a culmination of the team, but also many department heads in the city of Burlington to address aged purchasing policy for the city, which had been updated since 2010. I had the privilege of being on the committee with other department heads to review this, and I do have that new policy on Civic Clerk for you to review too. It's not terribly long, but it's longish. As well as a memo from Chief Administrative Officer Chad, who presented this to the Board of Finance a couple of weeks ago, and as well as the City Council. So this will take effect December 1st. The big takeaway for the commission is it raises my authority as the department head from $50,000 to $250,000. So you may not see as many contracts coming to you as often, including budget amendments, especially budget neutral amendments. Now, a big part of the conversation though is we didn't, as a city, as a open data piece of the puzzle, we didn't want to lose that what's the word I'm trying to say? Transparency of making sure the public knew every contract that we're still signing under that $250,000 threshold. So we're setting up a new contract program that the city will, the public will have the opportunity to see every contract that to sign within that authority, and of course following procurement rules like putting it out to bid and all of those types of things. Those generally don't change. But
will you share with the airport commission like a monthly listing or something?
That's great. Yeah, Tim and I had a conversation
I
ahead
mean,
of
I
time.
don't vote on anything, but
Yeah.
it would be good to have a list.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we can add that most likely to Larry's report, once it gets set up, and update it, something. Yep. That does also raise where we have to go after, my approval and the recommendation of airport commission. So if it's between 250 or above, we'll come to the airport commission. If it's between 250 and 500, we only need the city, board of finance authorization for me to sign a contract, and then above $500,000 will go to all airport commission, board of finance, and the city council. Really great effort. There is annual increases to these amounts as well. That's associated with CPI. This is also a cumulative amount. So let's say we sign a $200,000 contract, and I need to. Larry needs a budget, or not budget, whatever, contract amendment for $49,000, we'll still have that authority to do that. Budget neutral amendments, all budget neutral amendments do not need to go through this process. As long as it's budget neutral, if it's not budget neutral, these thresholds are consistent with each board that we have to go to. What else am I missing?
When you said it's a cumulative, that's on one project.
Sorry, on one project. Yeah, each project is thresholds. Yeah.
Otherwise.
And
Right, with amendments.
this new policy is citywide, right? It's not just
That's right.
airport.
This is citywide.
For enterprise funds.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
These thresholds.
These thresholds are
For enterprise.
Yeah.
So the language in.
Thank you.
What is called Article 2 for approval thresholds within the document. It's got two sections. The following approval thresholds apply to capital or enterprise funds. And then right below that in the document, it says general fund, which is at $150,000.
Yeah.
So we do have a larger threshold.
Okay, thank you.
And the full, like I said, the full document is attached to. Civic plan. Just a quick stats update on the parking garage. I mentioned a while back that we're going through some updates, edits, and all sorts of good things, including potentially raising adjustments. We have not changed any adjustments. We've tweaked some of the layout in the back end of our parking rates, so everything that's advertised is accurate. But what we have introduced is this new POP system, which is called Pay on Phone. So every ticket that gets pushed out of the parking garage now has a little statement on there that you can pay on your phone. And all you have to do is scan the QR code that comes off the ticket, and it goes directly to one of these sites, and you can use credit card or some of the digital payment systems. We also have advertising down in the baggage claim area to speed up the process. And yeah, so far I don't have any data. We just started this about a month or so ago. But in the future, once we collect more data to present, we can share how many people are utilizing the system.
And I believe it states it on the ticket.
Does.
So people will, if they look at their ticket, they will see they have options. And they
Yeah.
pay either price, the old fashioned what we did or for that.
And Jeff and our properties manager, Mike, are going through more ways that we can appropriately advertise this to make it more useful for as many folks as possible.
So there's some little app you can download.
No, it's not even an app. It'll take you to a website. Yeah, so you don't even have to download that. I think there is an app that you can also use, and it'll say like your credit card information, that type of thing. Not on our system, but it. The other programs. Just a couple of quick upcoming events for the next couple of weeks. November 12th. You want to talk about?
Yes, November 12th at 5 p.m. we are at, we went through the new South Burlington DRB process requiring a master plan because we have multiple projects that we're planning over the next several years. So we've gone through, the sketch plan phase, now we're running through the site approval phase. Between sketch plan and site approval, we have to do a public meeting at least 7 days ahead of the actual hearing, DRB meeting on that, and that'll be on the 12th, which will reflect all the projects that we can see in the near future, on that project, on that map. So that's at 5 o'clock, and everybody, all neighbors have been invited to.
That's direct balance, right?
Direct mailings, yeah, we direct mail everybody, so. So, and we can share, actually, we should bring that in for next meeting.
Yeah, it's good. November, that date, this actually changed as of yesterday afternoon, so it's now November 18th. I wanted to just pull that date out. I'll be presenting some of the things I presented to you tonight about our noise program to the Burlington City Council. That's on the 18th of November now, not the 12th.
It's not 7 days later. It's
Yes, less than,
Right.
the 12th is a Tuesday,
okay, I was gonna say it's.
yeah.
It might be 7 days.
Monday.
It's a better.
I think that's better.
Makes sense.
Yeah. November 13th, Jeff and I are presenting to Destination BTV, which is a Vermont tourism summit for the area. Jeff's got a great presentation, and I think we have 20 or so minutes to present some of the updates to the airport to that industry. November 15th, we're hosting kind of a end of summer celebration, not just for city employees, so please share that with heritage folks as well. Actually, I think we did send some pamphlets out to you guys too, as well as airlines, Air Guard, and Pratt & Whitney, and all sorts of folks. We called this, Jeff called it the Sizzle and Socialize. So the directors, Larry, Marie, myself, Jeff, Dave, will be behind the griddles and the grills. We would, you are available, we'd love to. Jeff, I didn't put times in there, so I don't know what.
11 to 2, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
Probably want to arrive for maybe an hour later, so Nick and I get a handle on how to put the hammer this.
Get a half roast and I'm really excited to announce that I made an offer to a new executive assistant. Her first day will be November 18th, so going through some of the hiring process. But I think we're all very excited to welcome a new addition to our team.
Super.
In December meeting, you'll probably.
So how many more spots are sold?
Really just 2, besides some ambassador positions that we have rotations. The deputy director of aviation administration is still open, going through human resource analysis of the pay scale on that. As well as the customer service, customer experience manager, just temporarily being assigned to somebody else.
Also Kirk left, so if the associate airport engineer position is open, it should be advertised. So he's here for a year, did a great job.
The reason I'm holding on to the manager position, the customer experience manager, is because they report to the deputy director. So I'd really like to get the deputy.
Right.
That process.
So you've been looking for that.
I haven't advertised, we've advertised it once in the pool, it was very. That's why I asked for review. Yeah, review. Yeah.
And then when that's done, that vision that you shared with us,
Till I have a new vision.
so you get refreshed. Maybe after yesterday, you might need one.
And so far, the new managers and the reorganization that we went through has worked exceptionally well. I think the staff has more direct support that they need we have more sort of direct support that we need for our manager team. We've gone through some ups and downs with managers, but I think overall the purpose, the intent of that reorganization is a breath of fresh air to get that. Yeah. So a couple of just updates on our I am preparing to present an ordinance change to you, which again, another charter authorization for the airport commission is they have the authority to change ordinances on ground transportation operations. So this ordinance change inclusive of allowing or giving the authority of our ambassador team to give parking tickets out, very similar to street tickets, when we have folks that leave their car on the curb, which is a security risk that we actually get violated on TSA. Right now, the way to do it is we have to have a police officer right now. This ordinance with proper internal procedures, of course, to give those tickets. Open December, I'll be presenting that. We'll have an assistant city attorney as well. Legal questions. We have many leases that we're working on right now, including one new tenant for hangar space, one new tenant for additional expansion of existing hangar space. We have a TSA negotiation for a new lease agreement with them, and we also are working on an additional concessionaire within the terminal environment. In the beverage, so it's very, very exciting. It takes a lot of work, but we're getting there. Similar with contracts, construction contracts, one of the big one, really two big ones that we're working on is office space renovations or additions for some of our tenants, including TSA, which is associated with that TSA lease from above there. We did open some bids. We received one bid on a TSA. Robert said she just has to jump off there. We received one bid for office space renovation for TSA at $500,000. We also, Larry also put out to bid a National Weather Service bathroom addition to put in their space, and that would also receive one bid at $200,000
For a bathroom?
or a bathroom.
Shower, that was, it's, yeah, we had,
Utilities.
yeah, GSA estimated out there, yeah. So we gotta do some.
Yeah, that one would be,
Nice child.
that one would be 100% reimbursed, so that one, I only. That way too much money.
That is too much money for those projects.
So yeah, it's a nice fact.
But the agreement with National Weather Service was, yes, we would help you add a bathroom if you refunded us the entire amount.
Yeah.
So they have some decisions to make that makes that much amount. Otherwise,
Rest our first meeting with the contractor, see what we can do, and then actually Noah wants us to actually rebid. We'll see what we do.
which also costs money.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of upcoming items, not necessarily all this. And then just some seat projections and passenger projections, and I'll leave it at there. So still looking really, really good. Still scheduled seats for every year that we've gone through, especially in October. You can see that peak over the purple line right there. And then for number of passengers, I did adjust this. So September, originally we had scheduled seats that were really high, but that's been adjusted based on real numbers. This was prior to September, so adjustments for real numbers. This is what we ended up. That is the orange. That's 2008. Green is this year. This is our current. So all these other years. That is our highest September, I think, that we've ever had in the history.
Yeah.
we're also projecting very significant growth as well, like Marie said too. These last leaf season through October, plates have been very full. The numbers, and TSA's record numbers are consistently breaking day over day. Yeah. Which is really fantastic. So we're still seeing it, and then we're seeing some typical numbers coming back down again. What this doesn't include, especially in December, is the new Frontier service. So that'll probably tilt up just a little bit for us.
So Thanksgiving isn't a big time for people to
Yeah,
fly.
that's what I was curious.
The week of Thanksgiving is, but it doesn't, the whole month of
Oh, the whole
Thanksgiving
month.
always is more like. Yeah, holidays,
Huh.
like those weekends and those big holidays, we'll see a lot of travel. Same with Christmas, those are still lower. It's
Majority doing one band.
Yeah.
I'll drive.
And that's all I have for you tonight.
All right, commissioners, what do we have for Nick?
Greg is his agenda.
Go ahead, Greg. Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, thanks. Couple of questions. Sorry if I have too many, but a couple go back to the noise mitigation issue. And I'm wondering if I understood this right. I may not, because the sound was going in and out. It said that the FAA was going to sort of recategorize the noise, and that could impact approximately 10% of people under those revised FAA rules. And so I was wondering, does that mean that people are going to be moved off from that program, or does that mean that for new enrollees, they have to meet a different criteria?
I remember those are on the outer edge, and those initial maps were a projection. These are now real numbers, and from the projection to the real numbers we have, now that the F-35s have been here for a year, there's a 10% reduction in units and people in that contour.
But those are, like Larry said, those are the folks, I'm not sure if you can see the screen, Greg, but those are the folks on the outer edges of our old map. We haven't even approached those folks on any of our sound insulation programs. So nobody currently, or even in the next couple of years, would be impacted by the decrease in numbers.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I was just wondering if people were going to be moved off. So thank you for that clarification.
Well, just to add to that, Greg, you are correct. The folks that are no longer in the noise contour line will no longer be eligible for any of the programs. So if they were from the 2019 map and now they're not, they will not be eligible for
But those homes would have been a couple years out.
15, 20 years.
Well, we haven't even talked about it, then
That's right, and the toughest part, that's right, we haven't talked to any of those
so it's
folks
not like
in
a
that area. No,
What's wrong?
the toughest part about the conversation though is the orange line here was the projection based on the environmental impact statement. The black line is what they're actually flying.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to say to a property owner potentially, because yes, it's a reduced noise, but that orange line has never been flown out of this airport. So we've never heard the noise from that. If that makes sense at that level.
Yeah, that makes.
That was projected.
Yeah, I guess, that was what I was concerned about, how those people are going to be notified. And, I can just, as you mentioned, as a property owner, realizing what was once A is now C and money is impacted, attached to that is just going to be tricky. But I guess that's something that is going to happen, and I'm sure that you guys will be prepared to discuss those things with them.
Right, that's on our website, and we had 2 public hearings last week where people could come in and they could actually pull up and find out where their homes were. So same thing we did in 2019, we had the maps, they can come and look, so it's public.
And generally every 5 years, we're gonna be updating this map as well. You know, I don't know if there's gonna be any changes, but the FAA likes to see at least every 5 years that the map is updated.
Yeah, thank you for those clarifications. On a related topic, you mentioned the Raleigh conference, and it's great to know that we're a leader in the field in terms of monitoring and mitigation of noise. But, you know, that being said, we do know that community members are impacted by noise, and some are quite active in efforts to remedy that noise, and in some cases, very aggressive ways. And I know that recently there was a conference. I didn't go to it, but maybe people. I'm just curious if anyone at the airport went to it. It was advertised in 7 days. I think it was maybe last Sunday or something like that. And there was a whole motion picture that had to do with just noise in general. It didn't talk about the airport was mentioned, but the specificity wasn't totally on the airport. It was just, it was everything from leaf blowers to loud cars and motorcycles to F-35s. And I was just curious if anyone heard any reports from that conference.
No, but I am curious, if maybe you can share some details. I did not know that was there.
Yeah, I should have been a little bit more proactive and mention it to you, so I'll keep that in mind for the future. And just on the last related topic with that, I mean, are you anticipating, Nick, that on this city council meeting on November 12th, when you talk about the airport master plan, that is noise going to continue to be an issue?
That meeting has nothing to do with that. That meeting has to do with our plan developments. Nothing to do with noise on the 12th.
Okay.
Master plan. That's the master plan for project.
Okay. Good.
By South Burlington DRB.
Okay, just 2 other quick questions. On the additional concessionary people who are going to be coming in, I was just wondering how that worked with Skinny Pancake. Are they going to be in competition, or are they going to be in different areas and different gates?
This will be an additional new concessionaire in competition with Skinny Pancake. Skinny Pancake's lease expires, I think, in 2028. So they're gonna be in the same locations, and they've done, like, the owner Benji reported at the last meeting, or what the prior commission meeting, that he's done an extensive amount of work to really support reactivating his shops. Have done a great job. Even in the last 30 days, maybe a little bit later.
Okay, thanks for that follow-up, because that was one of the driving issues in terms of people being able to have food early in the morning and such. And of course, that makes for a long day if they can't. My last question, speaking of food, I did see something on the TV news about the convenience store across the street from the airport, and I didn't know if there was any sort of update. It indicated that it looked like the convenience store needed some repairs. They were going to probably close down. And I can understand that that's a complicated issue. But they did have a number in that TV segment, a number of workers. And obviously at the airport, there are lots of workers that use that store for lunch and for food. And you do want to, even though we were talking about airport food, and as good as Skinny Pancake is, you can't really afford airport food, and it's nice to go outside. And so, any update on that convenience store situation?
Yeah, there is no change in the very difficult decision that we had to make, to advise the store owner. We didn't ask him to leave, but we advised him that there was a very limited amount of funding that we could put into that store. Over a year ago, we were working with them to come up with a solution and did a third-party analysis of what it would cost for different options. Total renovation of existing space, demolition and rebuild, or a demolition. And the architect and engineer's estimates were 7 digits to renovate this store. Right now, our revenue on this particular property is about $40,000 a year. So it was an incredibly difficult decision with both the consumer in mind, including airport employees, as well as his long-term customers throughout the community, and of course the historical customers that know of that store and his outstanding service in that particular store. It was. I'm an airport director, but that is one of the most difficult decisions I think I've had.
Okay, thanks. And I imagine, so we're the owner, so something can be done with that space if the tenant vacates?
If we're prepared to raise a significant amount of money or defer other capital programs that we have scheduled. Which at this point in time,
So will we demolish it then, or will you just let it stand empty?
we're still going through some creative thoughts on what we can do.
From another set of eyes looking at that, and evaluation that was done right now, to see.
It is limited by the zoning in that area as well.
It can't be housing.
It cannot be housing. It cannot be housing.
Yeah.
It is zoned residential on that property. So if we were to remove it and rebuild, for example, it would have to be on the existing footprint. There are some alternatives because of the new zoning rules that are in place that can have some light commercial operations on a residential property. But that's been there because of the decades long existing use.
Challenge.
It's a very big challenge, yeah.
Sorry, quick logistical question on that one. Did you have to get a variance every you would, certain period, or it was just grandfathered in? Okay.
Thank you for all that information.
Yeah, thank you. Gary.
Nick, can I add one thing to that? It's that we obviously understand that there's a lot of employees, both with the airport and who work for the airlines, et cetera, that utilize the deli. We are already working with Skinny Pancake and our new concessionaire on creative ways that they can service those employees, whether through discounts or if they don't have a side badge, how can we deliver food to them or have a dedicated drop-off place? So we do recognize that is a hole that we need to fill, and those ideas are currently in the works.
With an aggressive employee discount program.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Maybe one quick option might be to utilize that space for food trucks.
Yeah. Again, it's a.
No, for lunch.
Oh, for lunch. Yeah, it's a very challenging situation where we would still have to do a significant amount of work, put in quite a bit of funding into the project. And managing a food truck program is, I think, going to be. We have to look into it. It's a challenging process. And my focus for me and the team is to run an airport and know this is well needed revenue sources for the airport. And of course the is needed, but we have a mission to accomplish, and I want to make sure we're staying on track.
Bring you some neighbors who may have some other thoughts about food trucks or
That's right, yeah.
they may want.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, commissioners, anything else for Nick? All right, thank you, Nick. We'll move on to item 10, which is commissioner items. Do any commissioners have any topics of interest that they wish to discuss? All right, seeing none, we'll move to follow-up items. Is there anything that came out of this meeting today that commissioners would like follow-up on from airport staff? Pretty straight through that. We move on to item 12, which is adjournment. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's moved by Helen, second by Connor. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Vanished.
Good to see you.
Have a great night. Good night.